Alrighty, Star Wars fans. Welcome back to the Old Star Wars Fans Podcast. My name is Daniel, and today I got a bit of a bone to pick with Disney. Now, normally I try to keep it, politics and such away from this channel. However, this growing, trend to undercut our heroes, regardless if they're male or female, is getting very irritating. Okay? When George Lucas made the Star Wars franchise, he built it on two things: building a good story and hope. It didn't matter where you came from, didn't matter who you were, didn't matter who your parents were, didn't matter who you were in love with. None of that mattered. It was you could go, you could enjoy a good movie, and at the end of the day, you would feel hope in a brighter tomorrow. However, ever since Disney took over Star Wars, the hope has faded. Almost like a match that's been struck and it's being burnt down to the very end of the match. That's where we are right now. Disney Plus Star Wars leans towards exploring Luke Skywalker's LGBTQ identity. Why? That's my question. Why does this even have to be a thing? Sexuality was never a part of Star Wars. Ever. Yeah, you might have some flirting. Yeah, even in some of the books, there might be some flirting. But it was never the point. It was never the point as to, who someone was sleeping with, why they were sleeping, what their, sexuality was. It never was an issue. Until the woke wankers over at Disney started corrupting this crap. And it all started with Kathleen Kennedy and Bob Iger. You have to excuse me, I'm getting over a upper respiratory infection. But I saw this article and it just irritated me something fierce. Okay? Just, This is more insulting into what Star Wars is. Disney Star Wars franchise has been making changes to George Lucas's original creation for over a decade now. These changes have included updates to character storylines and themes throughout the Galactic Saga universe. No, they've been destroying continuity and rewriting the Star Wars lore simply because they're idiots. In recent years, there has been a push to include more diversity and representation in the franchise. Excuse me. Excuse me. Anytime someone says it needs to be more diverse, it needs more representation, that's code for they don't understand storytelling, they don't understand the source material, and they don't know what they're doing. They're diversity hires. Star Wars doesn't need to be more diverse. It's in an alien galaxy. You can't get more diverse than Star Wars. You can't. You have a giant fuzzy bear who's the co-pilot on a star cruiser or freighter. You have a rogues gallery of various aliens and robots who are your bounty hunters. You look at the rebellion and it is just checkered with various alien races. It doesn't need more diversity and inclusivity. It needs good storytelling. This is why people are leaving the Disney side of things and returning back to Legends. Because Legends are just better. We didn't worry about this crap in the 80s and 90s. We worried about good storytelling. When you read the books, it didn't worry about sexuality or inclusivity or any of that other crap. You told a great story. That was George Lucas's number one rule if you were going to write for him. Give me a good story. And they did. This modern crap, outside of Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, it's like somebody's fever dream. You turn Boba Fett into a wuss. Excuse me. I can't even tell you. You turned Rey into a Mary Sue. You undercut Finn. Poe Dameron was basically Wedge Antilles. You turned Leia into Mary Poppins. You emasculated Luke Skywalker. And we're supposed to be okay with this? Even if you take the technology out, okay, the technological advances between A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi, and look at the prequel trilogy, or the sequel trilogy, I'm sorry, 6, 7, 7, 8, and 9, the storytelling is just night and day. People are going back to watch the originals. And it's funny, people kind of, dogged the prequels until the sequel trilogy came out. And now they're like, man, the prequels don't seem that bad. Recently, a controversy emerged regarding adding preferred pronouns to all Star Wars characters on Wikipedia. Some felt that was unnecessary and went against the original spirit of the space opera. No shit. If you don't know Luke Skywalker's pronoun is a he, you need to go back to grammar school. Okay? That's just it. You need to go back to third grade English and understand how to write a sentence. Others thought it was an important step towards creating a more inclusive and diverse universe. No, it's bullshit. When you start trying to be inclusive and diverse, you literally remove 60 to 70, sometimes 80% of the core fans. Because these lefty wankers who are screaming for inclusive and diverse whatevers, they don't watch the franchise. They're not buying the video games. They're not buying the books. They're not buying the action figures. They're not going to the parks. They're not the first ones there on opening day at midnight. They're sitting in their little one-bedroom apartment bitching about everything because the world isn't what they want it to be. They're locusts, parasites. They're mosquitoes sucking the blood out of good franchises. You don't believe me? Look at Star Trek. Worf, who was this powerful warrior, honor, truth, duty, they turned him into a wuss. No. Not my Star Wars. Not the Star Wars I've spent 40 years watching. Having the action figures, reading the books, watching the cartoons. No. Excuse me. If you have a good story, you don't need diversity and inclusivity. You don't. If you have a good story, you don't need to focus on sexuality. If you have a good story, you don't need undertones of same-sex or bisexual ideas in the storytelling. You don't. Just tell the story. Give me some action. Give me some suspense. You don't have to focus on sexuality all the time. But because these people are perverts, that's all they want. One character that's been the focus of discussions about this LGBTQ retardedness is Luke Skywalker. In 2022, a short story was published in The Stories of Jedi and Sith, in which Luke Skywalker was depicted as being attracted to a man. Yeah. Because some pervert over at Lucasfilm decided to make that a thing. Kathleen Kennedy decided to make that a thing. She is hell-bent on destroying George Lucas's legacy. Hell-bent. And for what? She's never created anything. No one would know who she is if it wasn't for George Lucas. I mean, honestly, what she's done good in her life? Nothing. The sequel trilogies were atrocious. Now, when I say atrocious, I don't blame the actors. The actors did what they were directed to do. I blame the storytelling. I blame the writers. I blame the directors. I blame the producers. That's who I blame. However, not everyone is on board with making Luke Skywalker gay or bisexual, as it is the significant departure from George Lucas's original vision for the character and the Galactic Saga universe. If you watch the original trilogy, outside of some flirting, there is no sexuality. None. Even whenever Han and Leia have their I love you moments, Leia says I love you and Han says I know. That's it. Nothing more. At all. Until Return of the Jedi, when they're in the middle of that fight scene taking down the bunker, and she pulls a gun and he's like, I love you, and she goes, I know, and shoots that stormtrooper square in his chest. Nothing else is had in the original trilogy. Even if you look at the prequels, outside of some mild flirting and a couple of kisses, it's story driven. They argue that Skywalker was never intended to be gay, bisexual, or a member of the LGBTQ community, and that this representation is a modern-day identity politics being imposed on the universe. Yeah, that's it. You look at every single woke, liberal idiot who got hired in, whether it's Marvel, whether it's Lucasfilm, whether it's Pixar, or whether it's Disney overall, that happened under Bob Iger, or someone Bob Iger hired. It wasn't Chapek. Chapek was designed to be the fall guy. But what do y'all think about this? I know I'm kind of rambling here, but let me know what y'all think in the comments section down below. What do y'all think of, Luke Skywalker, Grand Master of the new Jedi Order? Now they want him to be gay or bisexual. Let me know what y'all think in the comments section down below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see y'all in the next one.